I don't want to get sidetracked.
Yeah. And I love what you do. Okay. So I guess the first question I could ask you is how you were feeling before we met. How was your business
Yeah.
doing?
So I was definitely overwhelmed, ironically. I was very frustrated, and honestly, I was so discouraged by this whole marketing side of things that I was ready to give up my business. Um, like seriously contemplating it. And then you reached out to me, and that was when I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it was a dark tunnel. Like I was honestly a little bit depressed about where I was, and I was discouraged because it had been 3 years,
Mhm.
right? 3 years of hiring business coaches and trying to figure it out and feeling like a failure, and so much so that my own belief in my own expertise was dying because I felt like such a failure on the marketing side that I I started to lose confidence in what I was actually an expert in, if that makes sense. Because I don't know. Sometimes it feels like if you can't master all the things,
Yeah.
right? And it was just such a long road. And especially when it's your marketing and you're not pulling in the clients that you want, you start to go, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Um, and it was hard too because so many times I had talked to these other coaches who basically did not actually listen to the problem. They just told me what they wanted to. And, it was frustrating because I was following their plan exactly
Mhm.
and asking them questions and telling them that I'm pretty sure this is the area. And they said, no, 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 like completely invalidating me and just kept doing what they wanted to. It wasn't that they didn't try to help at all, but they tried to help in this narrow area instead of figuring out what it was I actually needed,
Mhm.
right? Enter Felicity. And you were the first person who actually took the time to really understand the problem and to understand me and make me feel like, I don't know, like there was a connection there that we had because you listened, that
Mhm.
also gave me faith in you, even after like all these coaches that had let me down, right? Because that was another part of it was like I had taken multiple masterminds and different things, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just so over the mastermind thing. I'm so over this methodology where I feel like I'm not getting my questions answered, and I don't even know where to start, and I don't have a plan, and I'm feeling out of control, and I don't know how to use my time, and I only have a small window in my day. And yeah, it was just extremely frustrating and annoying and just not knowing, I was anxious all the time too, right?
Mhm.
Like my anxiety was climbing. And I just couldn't see a way out other than to maybe just like maybe I wasn't cut out for it. Right. And so then you and I started working together, and you didn't try to talk me out of it. Right. That was the first thing. Instead, you just listened. And then I told you what I thought the problem was. And you were like, yes, it's that. And right. And based on all these things you've told me, it's probably also this.
Mhm.
Right. And it was funny because it actually ended up being a three-pronged
Mhm.
problem because as we continued to work together, that was another discovery that we made. Like my problem was, I thought my problem was the messaging.
Mhm.
It ended up being the messaging, but also not knowing who I could serve,
Mhm.
and also my course offer, or my offering, right? My offering
Mhm.
was off. Um, and so I went from feeling invalidated and like I wasn't cut out for this to actually feeling empowered, like knowing what steps to take, feeling like I was in control of the situation, and having a very clear path. Like that if I could summarize it in one word, clarity would be the big thing,
Mhm.
because I felt like I was in a fog and I stepped out of it, and now suddenly I could see everything that was beautiful around me, right? That before it felt like I was in a swamp, slipping into quicksand constantly, right? Because I couldn't see where I was going and I didn't know what direction to take. So I was just taking random paths, right? And following people who I suppose they work for some, but they weren't working for me, and they weren't willing to help me where I needed to be helped. So that was, it was such a contrast to where I had been. And I think that's why it felt so different, right? Because now I feel like I can breathe. I'm actually sleeping better. I don't think I told you that before. My anxiety is lower. I still have traces of it, but that's just me. So I think, but when it comes to the business side of things, though, like, that is more in control now, because even whenever I